So when you get to the appointment, I'm going to give you three little tiny formulas right now that I teach to my corporate clients, right? They are three simple, useful nuggets for your life and for business. So I'm going to give you these first. Number one is trust, 3 words, trust, understood, input. This is the pathway in which you are the most effective in having someone be open to something you share. So if you think about it practically, if someone meets with you or agrees to meet you on Zoom, which I do a lot by Zoom, or people locally, I do a cup of coffee. That's how I roll. There's some measure of trust. Now, the trust doesn't have to be massive. The more trust there is, the easier it is, right? The more, especially the approach I just gave you, the more trust they have in you, the easier it is for someone to say, yeah, why can we, sure, right? But there's some measure of trust with anybody who's even willing to take your call, because there's something in that relationship. It doesn't need to be a lot, and it doesn't actually matter, because the next piece is what drives the trust deeper, and that is understood. Too often, our nature is that when Chris tells me he's struggling with XYZ, I go, oh, I got to tell you about blah, 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 blah. Right? He shares something, but right after he says it, I'm diving in and telling him all about this thing that's going to save his life, right? That's the opposite of the approach. That's the opposite thing you do with someone. Instead, you ask questions and hear them out, right? And let them speak. And the more they speak, what you are doing is, there are so many things that are happening here. One, you are building much, much deeper trust with this person. And just because you're willing to listen to them, we are in the most connected yet disconnected culture in the history of the planet, right? People do not get listened to. And as a result, they are dying to have someone to listen to them. And when someone does and truly listens and listens openly, it is magical what happens. That is an act of love. Just by doing that, you have made a difference for this person. You have warmed their spirit, regardless of what happens next. Because Maya Angelou's quote is one of the most perfect things to always remember. People are never going to remember what you said. They're just never gonna, but they will always remember how you made them feel. Always. And if you take the time to let someone talk, and I'm going to tell you how in a minute with the next couple of things, you are driving that trust bigger. But more importantly, they are feeling understood, not judged. That's a really important. We live in that kind of world today where there's a much less respect and much more judgment. I'm not judging anybody, right? I'm just letting them talk and demonstrating a little empathy for the situation and trying to fully understand and get to the crux of the truth for that person. Because by doing that, not only do they ultimately feel completely understood, but I actually understand, which is not insignificant. Because then when I give them input, then when I share something, it is congruent with what actually matters to them. And at the same time, when I share, I have built emotional equity because I have listened to them. They want to hear what I say now. It's such a simple thing. I mean, that's why I have to teach it over and over and over in corporate so people get it, right? You do this and you got no issues. You will be amazed at how people will open up. So that's the first platform for the communication. The second one is listen, pause, ask. Not listen, pause, talk. Listen, pause, ask. Because there's always a communication gap between what someone says and what you think they just said. And so you need to be asking more questions after they have communicated whatever they've communicated, all right? And so the way you do that is the third thing. And when you, by the way, when you pause, you take a breath, right? That this other person is going, they're not thinking this consciously, but subconsciously they're recognizing that you're considering what they said. you're thinking about what they said, right? And so, and you actually are, because you are thinking about what's the next best thing I can do to ask this person to help me understand their situation better for clarification. That's how you want to think about it. You'll have your time, but not right away. And then the third piece is listen, clarify, paraphrase. This is how you really get these three little things, right? This is, I don't think about these because they're natural for me now, but this is what I teach. And so I listen, and then I ask a clarifying question about that. I can use a closed clarifier and say, are you saying that, you can't sleep every night? Is that what you're saying? Or I can ask an open-ended clarifier by, what exactly do you mean by that when you can't sleep at night? What does that mean, right? And so this is powerful because it allows someone to further express. And many times they're going to say what they said in a different way, and they're going to give new nuggets. You're going to get closer to the thing, right? Which at some point you'll be able to paraphrase. Oh, so what you're really saying is this. Am I right? And so at not any point are you judging, and not any point are you telling them anything. You're just allowing them to get clear with you. Those three little templates you will have to practice because it will go against your enthusiasm. It will go against what you know, right? Your impulse is going to be to speak, and that is not what you want to do here.